recollection would be when my father came home with his first car. I remember him going out and learning how to drive when I was probably about 3 years old.
I remember being in my dad's convertible and we were driving along a main road somewhere, and it was a very sunny day, so we had the roof off, as you would in a convertible. This is probably the first memory I have of cars being present in my childhood. I never remember cars not being part of my life. As a child, I was constantly surrounded by cars. If I wasn't watching the V8 Supercars or the Formula 1 on TV, I was playing racing games on my computer.
So I wanted originally a V8 Commodore, which your grandfather had there was no way he was going to let me buy a V8. So at that point I started looking at other things, and I saw this white Gemini, which looked pretty cool, I thought. Had some go fast bits on it, so little did your grandfather know it was actually faster than a V8 Commodore.
Why is it that things like this appeal to us more than other things?
I don't know. We're petrol heads. We're born. It's
probably something
in your blood.
Can't explain.
Something about the noise and driving and commanding something with your foot and your hands and hearing it and smelling it and feeling it, and the exhilaration of speed or the acceleration. All of those things. I don't know why no one really took me to racetracks or anything like that when I was a kid, but I always had this thing for cars and for speed and the noise and the feeling. And I think when I went to my first drag race I was about 14, and the amount of noise and the fumes and your chest absolutely pounding when the drag cars came past made your adrenaline flow. So something just inherent.
That was like,
no, I can't explain it. I love it.
Like the when I was sitting at the chicane at Albert Park, watching the speed of comparison, and every time that the Williams car was changing gear, even if it was 500 meters down the road, you could feel it in your chest. Whenever it changed gear, the backfire would echo over it, but you'd feel it in your chest, even if it was half a k down the road.
Got stuck with it. Took you to your first. You don't remember. You were still a baby, I think. Age in the pram and went down to Phillip Island. It was a V8 supercar race.
Yeah.
Yep. You don't remember it, but.
I remember.
And once you remember when we went with your grandfather, we went to the.
I remember we went to the HSV Nationals.
The HSV days.
And the LJ Peter Brock car was sitting there.
Yep.
Still got that photo.
There you go.
When I was about 6 years old. So back in 2002, this is 11 years ago now, Dad took me to the Australian Grand Prix down at Albert Park for the first time. And I remember very clearly it was a wet and cold day in March.
Well, I used to love going in with Dad to his work. He worked at General Motors Holden. I used to go with him, we'd drive in, and we'd be walking within the factory there amongst the different plants.
I'll always look back on my childhood and remember the time I spent with my dad, just the two of us, driving or working on both of our project cars, or simply just reading a magazine together.